You're live. You're live.
Oh, sorry.
No, but hi there.
Hi.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the commissioner of Major League Baseball. Actually, Jane Leavy is one of the Levy is one of the great sports writers. She happens to be a woman. She has written biographies. She's one of the all-time greats in that craft, and has written biographies of three of the all-time greats: Sandy Koufax, Mickey Mantle, and Babe Ruth. She has an important new book, Make Me Commissioner, where she talks about the fact that millions of people still tune in, but baseball may have lost a vital relationship with the American people. So Jane Leavy joins us now. Jane, thanks so much for being with us.
God, I'll follow you anywhere. You know that.
Thank you. By the way, I want people to notice my red glasses are off tonight so I can match Jane.
There we go.
I want to
You're
begin.
looking for a position with the commissioner's office, aren't you?
Yeah, right. Trying to
Lobbying for a job already, Scott?
I'm afraid so. Look, I want to begin 2022 World Series, Game 3, Christian Javier of the Astros, threw 5 innings of perfect ball, 9 strikeouts, 97 pitchers. Dusty Baker lifted him.
Yep.
The team wound up throwing a no-hitter, but what kind of no-hitter was that?
It was the kind of no-hitter that is not really a no-hitter. A no-hitter is not the same thing as not allowing any hits in 9 innings. He brought in 3 equally dominant relief pitchers, and they won the game, which actually was game 4. You said 3, but that's because I made a mistake on the first time around. My bad. Javier was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant, and I had a great seat. I was very near home plate, and you could see the angle of the ball, the vaunted VAA at the angle that his arm came through and across, creating the illusion that the ball was 4 inches away from where the plane of expectation for a batter for a fastball. And the thing that was astonishing was that when they took him out, nobody said a word.
Yeah. Well, Dusty Baker explained, look, they were trying to tie the series, and he didn't want him to, throw his arm out for when he might leave him. You might need him later in the series. But what does that say about what's happened to the game?
It says that analytics, even though the information is valuable, as everybody in baseball likes to say, almost apologetically, that analytics have subverted the great narrative moments and dramatic moments that baseball delivered uniquely among sports. So I don't know about you, but I don't think we're likely to see another perfect game anytime soon, because starting pitchers average 5.2 innings a start. Analytics says they can't get the guy out the third time around. Well, maybe if you were smart, maybe if you kept that pitch in your back pocket, as they used to say, to wait for that third time around, or, a pitch you kept in your back pocket all season until you had a moment where you needed it and you used it because you were thinking out how to challenge somebody. Those are gone. And what's left in its place is a very the word that comes to mind is squished. That's not very good word. It's a game without the nuance and texture that it used to have, and I miss that.
Yeah. Joe Torre told you they're asking for, what is it, an imperfect game to be perfect, right?
Right, exactly. And, that's the joy of baseball. What analytics posits is that you can predict what's going to happen. And based on that prediction, which can only be valid 9 times out of 10, you can make a decision about what the best thing is to do that 10th time around. The problem is, by making the decision based on a probability, you are precluding improbabilities.
Yeah.
Those moments of, soaring accomplishment or bad luck or good luck or Mitches on the mound or a gust of wind or the sun in Willie Davis's eyes with a guy who never dropped a ball suddenly dropping 3 of them in Sandy Koufax's last game because network television decided to make them play during the day at Chavez Ravine. So, it subverts greatness is the way Joe Madden, your guy Joe Madden, likes to put it, and he's absolutely right.
Um, you are eloquent on so much else, but on the subject of what I'll just refer to as eccentric statistics. I mean, baseball's always been a game of runs, hits, strikeouts and balls, but some of the stuff we're learning now is extraordinary.
It is, and it's fascinating to understand why Javier that night, why the deception and the illusion that was created by the angle at which his right arm came across his body, and players expect that they can't see the fastball coming after after a couple of feet, it's gone. They have to act on instinct and all the ones they've seen before. So to be able to fool them, to create that illusion is what Javier was able to do. And the numbers were able to explain how he was able to do that. And the game stories the next day, I was envious of the guys who knew the analytics well enough to be able to explain that. I just had to admire it from an aesthetic point of view. And, the story I would have written that night, Scott, would have been about his mother predicting that he was going to throw a no-hitter on the night that his father first saw him pitch in the major leagues. And that's a nice story. It's a story I know how to tell. We both know how to tell that. But the analytics told something different and that were very revealing and that I was glad to know. The problem is the analytics make every decision now. You go in a dugout now and you hear, new baseball chatter, the human element, as if the human element is a subset of humanity as opposed to the opposite way around. And they all say, that's what's missing. The
Yeah.
respect for judgment and wisdom and experience is gone.
To cite a classical source, the original movie Major League, it has occurred to me because I make a point of re-seeing that. I see that once every 10 days. No, every now and then, and of course, the scene where the manager comes out and he brings in it's the crucial game they have to win
Right.
against the Yankees and make that, and he brings in Dorn, played by Charlie Sheen,
Right.
and of course the catcher says Dorn, and he goes, "Yeah, I know, but I got a feeling." You can't do that anymore, right?
No, you can't have a feeling. I mean, I asked Dusty one day in visitors
Wait,
dugout.
I'm with NPR. Dusty Baker, eminent American manager of several different teams, winner of the World Series. Go ahead, Jane. Yes.
I'm so sorry, Scott. I apologize. I was sitting with him at Camden Yards, Oriole Park.
Yeah.
His Astros were in there to face the Orioles, and I said, Dusty, what's happened to empiricism in baseball? And I mean, am I allowed to quote him directly? I mean,
Oh, yes.
okay, all right. He said, "It don't mean shit, Jane." They,
Yeah.
they tell these guys upstairs with their iPads. They come down. They say, your eyes don't know what they're seeing. You can't believe your own eyes. Well, I guess there are certain cases in which that's true, but his eyes have seen 50 years of
Yeah.
baseball, and to say that they're definitive in every circumstance, no, they're not. But he knows what he's looking at. And to dismiss it completely out of hand means numbers rule. The other night, I was talking to Davey Roberts again at Camden Yards. It was right before Yamamoto had that game, that one no hitter going to the ninth inning, and we had been talking about, and I was giving him a hard time about having removed both Rich Hill and Clayton Kershaw from perfect games.
Oh, Clayton Kershaw. That came up in your interview with NPR the other day. My
Right.
God.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Martinez. Yeah.
I know Davey regretted it. Joe Madden, who spoke his mind to the Angels general manager when he was in June 2022 and hasn't managed since as a result. He always had a no-hitter meeting before the season. He said it was actually Theo Epstein's idea. And they would make a deal. They would say, if you got a no-hitter going and you want to go for it, you go for it. We'll figure out a way to rearrange the rotation, give you some rest, give you a blow later, as they like to say. Well, clearly it killed Dave Roberts to have to take those guys out. Every manager I know agreed with the decision, including Dusty Baker.
Yeah.
But what I said to him was, wouldn't it have been a reason to go out to the ballpark the next day or the next month?
Yeah.
If Clayton Kershaw, the greatest left-hander of his generation, I'm sorry, that's Betty the dog, who is a character in the book, as you probably
Yeah.
know.
We have a dog here, Daisy Richard Simone,
I've seen Daisy. Yes, I know.
who writes haiku. But go ahead.
No, wouldn't it be a reason if the headline the next day had said Clayton Kershaw, the greatest left-handed pitcher of his generation, who has done virtually everything else in baseball, including throw a game that would have been a no-hitter, except for that there was an error, a perfect game, but except that there was an error. Came out and he had been injured in 2021. He had barely thrown in spring training, and it's cold, and he stifles. I mean, he neutered the Minnesota Twins, as opposed to Clayton Kershaw, pitched 7 perfect innings and was yanked out of the ball game.
Gotcha.
And Davey looked at me and went, "Yeah, I hate to tell you, I 1,000% agree with you." And the next night, he left Yamamoto in. And Yamamoto gave up the home run to Jackson Holiday. Now, you can feel badly for Yamamoto, though he's a young man, and I suspect if he's given another chance, he'll succeed.
He'll be there again. Yeah.
But what a moment for baseball.
Yep.
That's the point. The perfect game, the one-hitter no-hitter, would have been great for him. But it was great for baseball to have that ending.
Yeah.
And that's what we're missing, because analytics decides.
I want to get you to talk a little bit about the fact you point out that the percentage of black players in the major leagues used to be around 20%.
Correct.
It's now down around 6%. Game has really lost something, hasn't it?
Yeah, I remember when I was first writing for the Washington Post, and you had to be very careful because, the nuances of talking about race change from year to year and decade to decade. You had to be careful of stereotypes and stereotyping. But the fact is that the black baseball that came out of the Negro leagues, and which a lot of the players that we remember from the 70s and 80s learned from their forefathers, was more stylish. It was faster. It had speed. It had style, as opposed to my stodgy New York Yankees. I mean, that was the story of the '64 World Series. Was that the black dominated, if not dominated, the black infused Cardinals roster was younger, faster, at daring, as opposed to my stodgy New York Yankees.
May I tell you a parenthetical?
Sure.
Caroline and I were once at somebody's birthday party, and Bob Gibson was among the guests. He shook hands with me and said, "Oh, you're the Cubs man, aren't you?" And through the entire dinner, I begged him to throw a dinner roll at my head just to be able to say that Gibby had brushed me back. But he wouldn't fall for it, damn it.
I was at a birthday party with him too. We had the same agent, and I begged him to talk to me for the Koufax book, and he wouldn't do it. So,
yeah, throw a dinner roll at it.
We have questions.
Yeah, we have
Would you like to
questions.
take a couple questions? Yes?
sure, of course.
Okay, let me pull one up here from Michael Dickens. Do you agree with Thomas Boswell that Davy Johnson should be in the Hall of Fame? He theorizes that his manager credentials match those who are already enshrined.
Honestly, I agree with almost everything Tom Boswell has ever said about baseball. I haven't had a chance to read the column today, because I've done back to back to back to back interviews since 11 a.m. Um, I will read it and then I will agree with him. I spoke to Davy at great length um, for this book, and he was a righteous man. I mean, he knew what he was right about, and what he was right about, according to Davy Johnson, was everything. And he was ahead of everybody. He had a math degree, and he did all the calculations, and he had it all figured out. Of course, so did Earl Weaver a generation before that.
Yeah.
So the irony is that in the current world of big data, what baseball has is called a clean data set, because Chadwick started keeping track of numbers in the 1880s because he wanted to prove that baseball was a serious game to the
Hmm.
people who preferred the English version of hitting things with hitting balls with long objects. And so baseball had an advantage and a head start on all our newer sports, football and basketball, who have taken to analytics and collecting numbers with a zeal. But the irony is that the numbers baseball kept and treasured and immortalized and engraved are the same numbers that facilitated and enabled the analytic revolution in the game.
Yep. Yes.
A question from John Mahoney. Is micro betting changing, i.e., killing sports fandom, in your opinion?
Yes.
And that's like where you can bet that the third pitch will be a curve or something like that. You should explain. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I,
I don't like that at all.
I come from good stock. My paternal grandfather was a bookie and a rum runner who sat my father when he was 2 years old in the towhead on the back seat of the Model T to come across the border and hide the hooch under the seat.
I'm deeply moved, Jane. Thank you.
My father never, I mean, it was the highlight of his life. When he was 10, he got made the water boy for the New York Football Giants and got to come down from Coogan's Bluff, which is the rocky outcropping above the Polo Grounds at 178th in Amsterdam, and walk the green field. And so this isn't moralistic. It's not going away, but it's wrong for baseball. Players are getting death threats now because of this. I needed 4 strikeouts, not 5, and you struck out 5 when, it would have been much better for me. I wouldn't have lost that $500. And what's more, they're not fans of the action on the field. They're fans of the action. And that loosens, I think, I mean, I obviously I'm wrong because the NFL has had, a betting culture forever. And people are still addicted to it, but not me, I might add. But I think it loosens the 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 binding between fans and the game. And there are so many ways in which that binding has been loosened. And so I really regret it. I think once the Supreme Court in 2018 decided that sports betting was legal and a state matter. I think it was, last I looked, it was 38 states, but it's probably more by now, that you could do this. It was a done deal. It was clear Major League Baseball was going to join in. But why not take that money and use it for a good purpose? What a PR coup that would be for Major League Baseball that doesn't have many of them to say, you know what we're going to do with it? We're going to build academies in every major league city to give American kids the training and this
Yep.
and the facilities and the tools that we give to the Dominican kids.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with the Dominican kids. They're great. They're the most exciting athletes in baseball these days.
Yep.
But what about the kids here? And it would be they would look pretty good for doing it.
Yeah. Are robot umpires inevitable?
Yes. I think Major League Baseball, Betty has come to say hello. Hi, Betty. Uh, I think they were surprised to find out that people didn't really want what I like to call the full robo. They don't want a computer calling every pitch, but they also want to have egregious calls like some of them in the Yankees series the other day, eliminated. So the challenge system, which enables each team to have 3 opportunities to say, no, this is wrong. The pitcher, the catcher, or the hitter can generate it, but nobody else. I think that's a really reasonable compromise, and I don't mind that.
Every time I despair about what's happening to the game, you know what or who I think of?
Who?
Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, I
We've
understand
never
why.
seen anything like him. It's amazing.
Well, we didn't see anything like him because we're not old enough to have seen Babe Ruth do the same thing.
Well, yes, I know about that, but of course, Babe Ruth, because of different reasons at the times, was slotted so that he could concentrate on hitting home runs. For the moment, at least, Shohei Ohtani is able to, forgive the expression, go both ways. And I think that's great for the game.
It is great for the game. I'm not convinced it's great for him. The man has already had 2
Yep.
major elbow reconstructions. And, one of the other things that analytics has accomplished is it's taught people how to, what they now call, scale up their velocity. Because everything became about scaling up once it became measurable. And so you can go to Driveline. That's what Driveline pioneered, the data driven training center that was at the beginning of this revolution in velocity. And you can learn, you can teach a guy who has 90. You used to think you were born with 90 and then you would die with 90 or maybe 87, right?
Mhm.
And now you can scale him up. And the problem with that, as we know, is that elbows are tearing like cheap
Yeah.
wrapping on a Christmas gift. There's so far this year. I just counted today. Went back 61 guys with Tommy John surgeries, and
He won. God, yeah.
another 10, just about 10, with the new internal brace surgery, which was pioneered in 2013 by a guy named Jeff Dugas, which is a simpler surgery. And if you don't have that much damage in your ulnar collateral ligament, which, is in here and holds your arm together, you will get better faster. The surgery and the techniques are amazing.
Yeah.
But maybe Shohei Ohtani shouldn't be pitching. Dave Roberts told me the other day, Barry Bonds says he should not be pitching.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah, yeah. No, I keep wondering if at some point the Dodgers are going to say, "Look, let's," But
yeah, yeah.
uh, by the way, I tell people the reason I never became a major league pitcher is I didn't have Tommy John surgery. And I would have. No, nothing's wrong with my arm. I just want the surgery. Thank you. Thank you very much. One more thing to
Yes.
keep you here also makes me feel good about the game, and I say this as a Cubs fan this year. The Brewers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't figure out how they've been so successful, but I wish them well.
They're a team, Scott. They're a team that was put together not by a computer that said, well, I need to generate 80 RBIs from the catching position, and
Yeah.
therefore I can sign 2 cheaper catchers with 40 each. I don't have to go for the big free agent signing. I can have a platoon because, after all, righty lefty, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
This was put together by smart people who understood what it means to be teammates.
Yeah.
The classic example is, about FIP, right? You know what
Mhm.
FIP is? Um, I should know what that stands for. It means into something fielding independent pitching.
Really, yeah, right.
It is a successor to WHIP, which was created by Dan Okrent, who created Rotisserie League and discovered Bill James, for which reason I blame him for everything. And and after WHIP came DIP, and then came FIP. Now, FIP is an invaluable tool for an agent, because what it does is it peels away from a starting pitcher or even a relief pitcher, but primarily starting pitchers, that which they are not responsible for.
Yeah.
So if Willie Davis drops 3 balls, that ain't your fault. So, and if the wind picks up or the midges show up in, Cleveland, not your fault. So it's a pure number of a pitcher's value. Or if everybody else on your team stinks, not your fault. So for an agent to sell a pitcher who looks like he's not going to get a good deal based on that, you know, that's a valuable tool. But what it isn't is something that encourages teammates and the notion of teamwork. You know, used to be that, guys picked each other up. And so when Willie Davis dropped 3 balls and, was it the 6th inning? I think it was the 6th inning. I could be wrong. Or I could look it up, which is what sports writers do, by the way. Um, when he dropped those 3 balls, Koufax went down to the end of the dugout where he had planted himself away from everybody in mortification and put his arm around him and said, "It's okay." And Drysdale came out the next day and said, "He saved us a lot more than he's ever cost us." That's
Yep.
what you
That's
see
deep.
at the Brewers, I think.
Yeah. Jane, it's been terrific talking to you. Thank you so. Oh, by the way, I wore this for you today.
Santucci. I love it. I wore my blue,
Yeah.
for it's more Cubbies blue than it is Yankees blue, I
I
have to
noticed
say.
that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I
Anyway, I have this a ball for you, a Make Me Commissioner baseball
Oh,
for
well,
you.
you have won my vote. I just want to tell you.
Oh, thank you.
I think I think baseball would be well advised. Unfortunately, when I say you have won my vote, as you will recognize, I don't get a vote. But in any event, if I did, you would have it in a decent
I'm
way.
expecting people to go into the streets on my behalf.
Oh my God, I love that idea. All right, thank
All
you.
right?
So, Jane's book, Make Me Commissioner. I know what's wrong with baseball and how to fix it, and she certainly convinced me. So, thanks very much for being with us tonight.
My hair will be better next time, I promise.
Her hair looks great. Kitty. So, thanks everybody for being with us tonight on our open book. See you tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.
Thanks, Scott.